number one.
Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Yep, there it is. Holy smokes, Hans. I'm just about to make an Amazon purchase right here.
Well,
and I normally don't buy things like this.
Oh, that's a little pricey, though.
you just use that thing that you were talking about that hides the card number.
It still comes out of the same. It's not like you can get it for free.
Oh, I thought you said you just put what price you want to pay. And
that's what I thought he said. I thought you said
you decide the price.
I know this says $85.99, but I'll pay $29.99.
I'm only giving you $30.
Oh man, that is spectacular.
Hey, so this story was surfacing. We're waiting for Craig Smith to call here in a second. This story was surfacing, and I was waiting to confirm it. Did you know LeVar Ball had his foot amputated?
What?
Yeah.
You get the beatus?
No, he got some infection in it. And I saw it on Twitter yesterday, and I was like, nah. But it's confirmed, man.
Wow.
He had it taken off about mid-calf.
Oh, geesh.
LeVar Ball.
Wow.
The father of Lonzo, Leangelo. Lamalo. The Ninja Turtles. Raphael Ball. But this is a bad deal, man. You don't want anybody to lose their foot.
He still got that $1 million smile, though.
Yeah, he does. He's still smiling through it all. But that's a rough deal. Oh. Hey, how much is the
$40?
Did you mention what it says?
Oh, I did not. It says it's a shirt that somebody on Twitter just sent to us, and it's on Amazon. It says "Kachuk around and find out."
Yeah, because the Kachucks are the real deal.
Wow, they're not messing around.
And it's a long sleeve. But that's not a hockey sweater.
No. That's just somebody trying to make a whole lot of money right there.
And they're gonna.
Oh, and they will too. All right, time to check in with one of our favorite dudes on the planet. He is the head coach of the University of Utah men's basketball team, and it's been a minute since we've had him on the show. Craig Smith, kind enough to join us. Coach, how are you?
Hey, what's up, fellas? How we doing, Scotty and Hans?
Man, it's good to hear your voice.
I got to ask them. What's that?
It's good to hear your voice, Coach.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I got to ask, though, what's a Kachuk? I'm from northern Minnesota, so it kind of sounds like maybe something from northern Minnesota or Canada. I don't know.
Yeah, it's these the two hockey dudes for Team USA that are picking fights with all the Canadians.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Kachuk.
I haven't been.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how much, growing up in Minnesota, you got to have a little bit of hockey in your blood, don't you?
No, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about hockey. I know what offsides is. I still haven't figured out offsides in soccer, but I do know what offsides in hockey is. And I went to my first. I went to school at the University of North Dakota. And that's a huge hockey school. I mean, their facility, 25 years ago was like an NHL arena. But I did go to the Utah Hockey Club against the Calgary Canucks. I think it was late October I went, and it was awesome. It was so fun. And I had a pretty solid seat. So the action, and it really stood out how loud it was. Like the stick hitting the ice slashed the puck, and then when that puck just kind of raises, like I've been to one PGA golf event in my life, and when I hit a golf ball, it just kind of pops up. When those guys, the PGA guys, hit it, it's like a plane taking off the runway, just kind of low and just and that's like the hockey pucks, right? They just kind of low, and then they drill the plexiglass. Oh, my gosh. It was amazing. It was so fun. And then the best part was the checking. Although it's not like, now I'm really going to bore you, but I got to share this. So, I didn't have cable. I grew up with no cable TV until I was like 11th grader. and I'm the oldest of 5 boys, so I always had to babysit my brothers, and then to make extra money, I'd babysit at other people's houses. And so the one sporting event that was always on was the Winnipeg Jets on PBS. So I grew up like an hour and 45 minutes from Winnipeg. So I would be bored out of my mind, and I was just trying to find a sport. I just love sports. And I'd watch the Winnipeg Jets from like 8 to 10 at night. And so anyway, I haven't shared that story in a long, long time. I thought I'd share with you guys.
Well, that's probably where you fell into love with wrestling, too, is because, those late nights, Saturday, it'd be head-to-head with Saturday Night Live. You'd switch back and forth between that because you didn't have the satellite dish or the cable TV.
Now you're speaking my language. That's exactly right. It was WWF, I think it was called back then, WWF. And it was like 11 to midnight on Saturday nights, like once a month. Oh, my gosh. I couldn't wait to babysit those nights.
Well, Coach,
the Hulkster going crazy.
Well, Coach, I'm going to catch you up on this because you got to know tomorrow night is going to be a big night, and you got to tune in and watch. I know you guys got till Sunday till you're back in action, but tomorrow night it's called the Four Nations Tournament, and we're talking about these Tkachuk boys. So their dad, Keith Tkachuk, was a big thing in the NHL. He had these 2 boys in Scottsdale, Arizona, raises them up, Brady and Matthew Tkachuk, and they're the toughest dudes in the NHL. 9 seconds into their match against Canada, they drop their gloves and start throwing fists because of, all the noise, and Canada thinks they're the real deal. And so they drop their gloves and they start throwing knuckles, and United States beats the crap out of Canada. Well, United States makes it to the finals. Canada wins again. They make it to the finals. So now we got a rematch of United States versus Canada coming up Thursday, and the Tkachuks have caused all kinds of havoc. And I'm going to tell you, that's one. It's not the Winnipeg Jets, but it's one you're going to want to tune in for.
Well, it sounds fascinating to me. If it's 9 seconds in and there's a bit of a rumble, it's going to be worth the time to check it out, or at least DVR it and fast forward to the fights.
Well, USA's wrecking Canada the way that the state of Utah's wrecking the state of Kansas. But you get back-to-back wins, Kansas and then Kansas State, and it feels like things have really started to build some momentum up there on the hill. How do you keep what you've got going right now and keep that for the final stretch of the season?
Well, it's a great week for both BYU and us, and you could see it. We just, we've had a bit of a consistency has been a thing with our team, and we've talked about it. And we haven't always had consistent point guard play, and that sometimes will cause some trickle down effect, right? At times, and so, and then we have, I think we have game 20. I think we've played 26 games now. We're 75% through Big 12 play, but we're still learning and growing. We have 10 new players, 7 new staff members. That's the part I think. It's normal to have 8 to 10 new players, and it's crazy to say that. But it's also all these new staff members. So getting everybody on the same page and moving forward, and it's been quite a year. I can write a book about it, but it's also been invigorating and empowering in some ways, and it's a great group of guys in every aspect, whether it's our coaches or staff or players. And so I thought, even though we went 0-2 at West Virginia and at Cincinnati, I thought we took some real strides forward on that road trip. I thought we learned a lot about ourselves. And you just got to keep chopping wood. I always say, like, I grew up chopping wood, but that's another story I could bore you with. But, you don't knock down a tree on one big axe swing. Maybe Hans does, but I can't. And I'm not sure you can, Scotty. But, you just got to keep going. And I thought we took some big strides. And, you got to eliminate losing to win. You got to have consistency. You got to make winning plays. And we just didn't make quite enough of them at West Virginia and Cincinnati, and they did. And then against Kansas and Kansas State, we did it, and we did it in different ways. And so that was what was really exciting. And how do you win? You got to make the play you have to make to win the game. And sometimes it comes down to that one play or 2 plays. And Cincinnati tie game, we have 2 great defensive possessions, and we have a younger guy that just kind of mindlessly runs to the rim on a missed 3, and the ball goes right over his head, and then they score. And that happened twice. And, I don't know that it'll happen to him again after that. But you got to go through some learning curves. We're playing some young guys, a lot of minutes, and hopefully we're figuring some things out. We have a week off, which is very rare. I shouldn't say a week, 6 days. And then we have 4 games in 12 days at Central Florida, at Arizona, home against Arizona State, home against West Virginia. And then, of course, we finish at BYU. So let's just lock in and keep getting better and making winning plays. And usually if you do that, good things happen.
Well, Scotty and I are excited for you because, we're watching the momentum build, and you've got yourself right near 500 in one of the toughest conferences in the world. And you got guys that are stepping up and playing some big-time minutes for you. I wanted to talk a little bit about Gabe Madsen, Coach, because if I'm not mistaken, he's a guy that you kind of inherited when you took the job there at the University of Utah. And I feel like he's a guy that we've watched evolve, and he's played some big minutes, and he's played some integral role in these wins for you. Just talk a little bit about Gabe. And is he not from around the area that you were from? Am I wrong in that?
So he's from Minnesota. He lived in Minnesota a long time. I think he actually originally is from Wisconsin. He loves the Green Bay Packers, so you got to forgive him for that. But we recruited him and his twin brother Mason when I was at Utah State. Recruited them both pretty hard. Gabe kind of really blew up. They both kind of did, and I knew it was going to be tough to get him. But we had a relationship with him. And then when I got hired at Utah, Gabe was actually the first commit that we got. Gabe and Mason both went to their identical twins. They went to Cincinnati. That was the highest level that offered both of them. And, that was the year of COVID where you were testing, however many, 4 times a week or whatever it was. And Gabe, I think, played in 2 games. He just didn't have a good experience. He opted out, just knew it wasn't for him. And I don't know what he did for those 4 months. And then the portal opened and we got him in. He's been fantastic. He's a baller. He loves to play the game. Dude's in the gym all the time. He just broke the University of Utah all-time record for made threes in his career, and he's been here, just under 4 years. That's not a 5-year record. That's a 4-year record. But, he's just one of those guys, and he's been through some ups and downs this year. He's been through the worst shooting slump that he's ever been in. I mean, the month of January, quite frankly, the end of December and the month of January and early February were not pretty for him, and that really affected our team. And the onus isn't on him, but it was just that's basketball sometimes. There's ups and downs. There's ins and outs. That's life. And you got to grow. And I think one of Gabe's superpowers, if you want to label it like that, is he just lets everything can just let water run right off of him. And he's back to that, just playing basketball. I think there's a lot of things that came into play there, but he's back to his old self. And, he's a really good player. He was a borderline all-league player a year ago in the Pac-12. And, he's our most established player coming back. So on the offensive end, when he was struggling, that really, really hurt us. And we weren't playing nearly to the level we needed to on the defensive end consistently. It was just, oh, man, it was so bothersome because I'm a guy that really believes in defense. I really believe in rebounding. You got to take care of the ball. And now the last about 5 games or so, I feel like we've really amped up our defense and have played much better basketball and have rebounded at a really high level. So, but Gabe's he's a baller, man. He loves the hoop, and the sky's the limit for him.
When you were at Utah State, you were always, top 15 in the country in assists per made field goal ratio, and I know that was a stat that you took very seriously. Right now, according to KenPom, you're number 1 in the country in that number in assists per made field goal ratio. Just how important has that been for the success of this team to be able to learn how to play as a team and really get good looks off good passing?
Well, Utah State, I just had to make sure I brought Kyle Cottom, our SID. I just bring him out to lunch once a week, and we get a couple, 2 or 3 more assists. But, it's a big stat for us. I believe in, a competitive spirit. You got to defend and rebound, but sharing the basketball. I've always, nothing divides a team more than bad shot selection. When guys start cranking up bad shots. Now it's the next, next thing you know, that hero basketball and my turn offense. And so you try to recruit to that. You really try to emphasize it. try to play the game a certain way. I think you attract the right types of those types of players through the recruiting process when you can show that. And I think after this year, it'll be 6 of our last 7 years. We've been top 25 in the country in those numbers. And, I'm proud of that. It's easy to, when you share the ball like that and you play the game a certain way as a player, like, hey, if I do the right things, you'll be rewarded. And I think it obviously it's an exciting brand of basketball. I mean, the state of Utah, very knowledgeable fans, and they understand that. And I've always believed in that. That, and then 2 of our 3 years there, we were top 5 in the country in defensive effective field goal percentage and rebounding, and that's really, really hard to do. And so it's amazing when you have those kinds of numbers how success follows.
What's it like being in the Big 12, Coach? I know you've been doing this coaching thing going back in the 90s, and I know you've had a lot of stops. I don't think you've ever had a stop in the Big 12. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but what are your thoughts of this conference to this point?
It's awesome. I'm so excited to be a part, to be coaching in the Big 12. It's an incredible league. It's 2 years in the Big 10 at Nebraska, and that has its own flavor, so to speak. I was 5 years in the Mountain West at Colorado State, and I thought that really helped me when I took over at Utah State, kind of understanding the league, the environments. When you go on the road, what's it like playing in the pit? What's it like playing, at San Diego State? Just that whole – I just think there was a comfort level that way. This is new. And you learn the league. I watched a lot of film on it, but it's different when you go through it in person. Whether you're playing at home, some elite environments on the road, much like the Pac-12, and quite frankly, some of the Mountain West are really, really good venues, as we all know. And so, but the league is different, and every league is a little bit different. Every league has a little bit of an identity on its own. And I've learned, and it's become very clear some of the things that we have to add from a personnel standpoint. I think we've really figured out the league from some schematics that's really helped us on both ends of the floor, specifically defensively. And so you learn and you grow. You always got to learn. You always got to adapt. But there is no doubt that after 15 games, we have a way better feel for what's going on. It took us about 5 games to figure that out, really 3 when you open up at Baylor, Texas Tech at home, and at Iowa State. It's like, okay, here we go. But it's awesome, man. I've always said bring on the competition. There's a lot of dynamic playmakers in this league. Like, you can play great defense, and almost everybody has 2, 3, maybe even 4 guys that when the shot clock's winding down that just can go make a play. And you can contest them. Even at the end of the K-State game, oh, my God. I mean, the one guy hit from the U, basically half court, with like 45 seconds to go. And there's just so much talent, but I think it's absolutely awesome and fantastic. And, you grow as a coach, you grow as a program, you grow as a team. And I'm excited for, obviously, the rest of the season and the conference tournament and into the future.
When you have a coach who is pretty open and honest in a postgame and saying, yeah, we wanted to send those guys to the free throw line, we saw the percentages, and we rolled the dice, and they made us pay by hitting free throws down the stretch. Is that something you talk about with your team and say, hey, these guys tested you, and you came out on top? I mean, how impressed were you with your guys when they were being challenged, and that was part of the game plan to try to send them to the line, and they responded by hitting some critical free throws down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. We want to get to the foul line. We've always, no matter where we've been good at getting to the foul line. This year's, it's been a bit of an Achilles for us, I guess you could say. Our two guys that get there the most consistently haven't been very good, free throw shooters. But, like I've said for about the last 2 weeks, Ezra Azar, it's one of the reasons we recruited him. Last year at East Carolina, he shot like 6.3 free throws a game. That's incredibly hard to do. When I coached Sam, when I first got hired at Utah State, Sam Merrill was shooting 2.1 free throws a game. He was obviously more of a shooter, right, a catch-and-shoot guy. And when I met with him and his family and fiance, for about 3 hours, we have to make you more of a playmaker. We got to get you to the foul line more. That's a talent. And Sam, his junior year, got to the foul line 5.7 times a game. Of course, he shot 90%, so he's going to get, right off the top, he's going to make 5.3 free throws a game. And so that matters. And so Ezra's got a talent. Last year's team for us struggled to get to the foul line. So that was a big – and he's a freak athlete. And he's made some twitches here he's made some switches probably 2-3 weeks ago, and I think it's really, really helped. And then the other night he goes 7 for 7. And so I knew it was just a matter of time, and I said that on the record. And then Lawson's just got to give himself some grace. Lawson's 7-1. He's a really high achiever. He's very hard on himself, and he just always expects himself to be perfect. And I'm just like, Lawson, give yourself some grace. You're not going to be perfect. We're all imperfect people playing an imperfect game. And so it's going to happen. And he just is stuck with it. He's a competitive guy. I think he went 7 for 11 or 8 for 12 or something like that from the line. And I just love the fact that we're getting to the line. So, that's got to be a big thing for us, is keep attacking that way and keep getting to the paint. And there's a lot of ways to get to the paint, but I was super fired up for those guys because it makes a difference in winning.
I got Timmy tonight in the Spectrum. Got any messages you want me to send his way?
Oh, man. I just saw a thing where they're going to bring him some Aggie ice cream. He's been asking me about that for years. So, it's so cool. I mean, that's my guy. He's such a great person, unbelievable coach. He's my mentor. He means the world to me. And, it's been fun because we always just follow each other. So, those 3 years at Utah State, he tuned into a lot of games. And he's always just the atmosphere, right? The spirit and atmosphere in the Spectrum is pretty contagious and pretty amazing. So he always, commented about it. And so, and I remember the first time he went up there when he was at San Jose, he's like, man, this is a nice place up here. And I'm like, I know. And so I don't have anything specific for him. Just have some fun with him.
I will.
Take a good joke. So get after him a little bit. I'll think of something to text you.
Oh, I will for sure. The thing that I learned a lot about coaching from Craig in terms of what it's like, and when the two of you were at Mayville and driving in a Geo Metro all over the country to find recruits that you could get there. I mean, the stuff that you guys have to deal with at that level, and the travel and the nightmares. I'm like, these guys deserve every dollar they get when they get at a higher level, because the stuff you put your families through and stuff, it's just amazing to hear some of those stories.
Oh man, we could really have some fun with those. One time I took a Greyhound bus to Birmingham, Alabama, and back to Tulsa, and I could write a book on that experience. It was awesome. I was sharing that with our staff the other day. But you've been through the grind of it. He loves the coach. I love the coach. You don't do it for all the other peripheral stuff. It's just about doing what we love to do and hopefully positively impacting people. And you just do what you got to do, right? It's what anybody does. It's what any family does. You got to do what you got to do for the family, for the program. I think we had a $1,500 recruiting budget. So just,
oh my gosh,
filling up the gas with. I mean, an 8-hour one-way trip wasn't a big deal. You just go do it. Hey, drive 8 hours, watch a game, drive 8 hours home. You don't think anything of it. You think a little bit more of it the older you get, when you have kids that are starting to get into the profession, like, hey, just be careful on those all-night drives. They get the same response that I got. Yeah, Dad, we'll be fine. So, but I think you appreciate the journey when you reflect on some of the things that you did and the obstacles you go through, and you appreciate the moment. You really appreciate your players because they were the same way. You hop on a bus, drive 14 hours, play a game, and drive home, and you don't think anything of it. So some great times and great memories.
Coach, you're the best. We appreciate it. Keep it rolling. Looking forward to catching them again here soon.
Good luck on this finish, Coach.
All right, guys. I appreciate you having me on. You guys are great people, man. Appreciate you guys.
You as well, Coach.
You got it. There he is, Craig Smith, head coach of the University of Utah men's basketball team. Utah State's got Tim Miles in San Jose State. Tim Miles is the coach up there. And,
so they coached together?
Yeah, they were. He was at his staff at Mayville State in the mid-'90s, and then they kind of separated a little bit. He got the head coaching job at Mayville, and then he was on his staff at Colorado State, and then on his staff at Nebraska. So they know each other very well. Yep.
Well, Craig's got a very interesting 5-game stretch to finish.
Yeah.
And I do think that they've got their goals in front of them.
Oh, yeah.
They can still make the tournament.
Yep, 100%.
They just got to keep this hot streak that they're on.
Yep. All right, Hans and Scotty right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invent a food line that you just invent by putting stuff in your pocket, and that's how it gets heated up. No need to
We don't need appliances.
Yeah, put it under. But have you ever seen those like Indian street food Instagram videos? I go down that rabbit hole sometimes.
What does the algorithm say about us?
I know there's some weird stuff that pops up. Mine is all sports and food stuff.
That'd be accurate. If I had to guess, that would probably be accurate.
And I do the thing too where I'm like, I like that recipe. I'm going to send it to myself. And then I see myself in the mirror as I walk by something in a building. I go, who are you? What are you? What's your problem? That's me. I've started to do that. I send myself Instagram recipes that I can try out on the weekend. I've become like a segment on Studio 5, breaking it out. And I saw this on Instagram. I wanted you to try it. My goodness.
You start your own cooking show.
Oh, I like to cook. I'm one of those guys.
Can you do a cooking show on the radio?
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
It is your good, it is your bad, it is your ugly right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, let's start with the good, Hands. Sean Dursey back in the lineup for the Utah Hockey Club.
So Dursey's been out for a long time. He's missed 52 games. And we were talking to Bill Armstrong, the general manager of the Utah Hockey Club. And Mr. Armstrong had some very important things to say about Sean Dursey, his overall meaning to this team and his potential return. This is Bill Armstrong a few weeks ago talking about the potential return of Dursey and what he means.
We miss him. He's our heart and soul. I mean, that guy blocks shots with his face. I mean, he's all in all the time for his teammates. Everything he does, it's just he's a massive part. He hurt, when we lost him. We lost a bit of our heart and a bit of our pulse, and we cannot wait to get him back on the ice.
Wow. Lloyd said the hockey club was 4-1. They'd only played 5 games of the season when he went out. I'd forgotten it was that long ago.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what he plays, what role he can play in his return. But, as both of you have mentioned and as Bill Armstrong talked about right there, he was critically important to the beginning of the season and what they expected from him. And then missing him for 52 games, but now getting him back on Saturday. Some other good news for the Utah Hockey Club. Might be seeing Logan Cooley back on the ice pretty soon. Last game that we saw him on the ice was against Pittsburgh. It was at the beginning or maybe the second game into that homestand going back a couple weeks ago. So Logan Cooley's been off the ice in a critical part. If they get Dursey and Cooley back and they can stay relatively healthy from this point, then we could see the final 10, 15 games of the season, every game basically being a playoff game for the Utah Hockey Club.
And them being the healthiest that they've been all year.
Yeah. And where I've gotten to know the Utah Hockey Club so well without Dursey on the ice, I don't know even what to think of with him on the ice at this point. So, what point does he take in the rotation? How much time does he take? Where does that time come from? Who potentially loses parts of the rotation? We've seen guys kind of come and go. Dome was one guy that's been relegated, and he's been here and gone back and done his thing. So it'll be interesting to see how he disrupts the rotation, but then how critical a role he can play if Utah Hockey Club does make it to the postseason. Can he be the catalyst?
And we see that with the NBA every now and then, even the NFL to a certain extent, with the quarterback. If a guy has been out and then you throw him back in the lineup, it takes a minute for guys to adjust. Not just him as a player, but teammates around him. As you mentioned, playing time is going to be limited for other guys, and so there was certain chemistry developed. Obviously, the Utah Hockey Club is a better team with Sean Dursey on the ice as opposed to him being off the ice. But there will be a bit of a learning curve with him coming back in there because it's been so long. You just hope it meshes pretty quickly.
But those comments from Bill Armstrong stuck with me from how many weeks ago? Was that 3 weeks ago?
I want to say 3 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when he joined us on the 28th of January.
Yeah. So, and when we asked him about him then, those comments really stuck with me. I thought, geez, maybe I underestimated what Sean Dursey meant to the team when he exited, just based off what he said there.
Yeah. All right, there's your good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
This is an interesting story that makes you a little worried about what's
really
going
worried
on here.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that this had happened at the time, but Team USA defenseman Charlie McAvoy is still in a hospital in Massachusetts General Hospital with an infection in his right shoulder. So I had to try to put together the timeline on this because I couldn't quite understand what exactly happened. Because remember, McAvoy was a big deal in that U.S.-Canada game. He's the one that took Connor McDavid against the glass really hard. You remember?
Yeah.
And McAvoy was a physical presence, and he was nasty, and he ended up playing 20 minutes in that game against Team Canada. Well, then I start reading deeper into this injury and this infection. It happened in the game previous.
Oh, geez, he played with it.
And he played with this against Canada. And they're worried that it may have escalated the damage. Now, he is with the Boston Bruins, and he's obviously a big part of what the Boston Bruins do. And now they're just worried about his return to the NHL in general. Says his status for the NHL season, which restarts Saturday, is unclear at this point. McAvoy, 27, Boston's top defenseman, 23 points in 50 games, 23.40 in average ice time per game. He's everything for the Boston Bruins defensively, and they may be without him. And the bigger bummer is we aren't going to see him on the ice against Canada in the rematch coming up tomorrow.
And that's going to hurt in a big way.
Yeah, because remember, there were probably 4 names that came out of that United States versus Canada game, and Charlie McAvoy was right there with all of them.
Yep.
Nasty defender taking dudes into the wall. And the reason Scotty says he's a little bit worried about this, it says after undergoing x-rays, MRIs, and blood work, he was diagnosed as having an infection in his right shoulder as well as a significant injury to his AC joint. He underwent an irrigation and debridement procedure at the hospital on February 18th. He remains in the hospital where he's being treated with IV antibiotics, and his condition is improving. But what it sounds like is this damage or this debridement or these particles that were in the shoulder may have caused some type of infection, and along with a serious AC joint injury that he suffered before he played against Canada.
Well, and you only have to go back to that Alex Smith documentary to make you nervous about infections.
Yeah.
And once they get into muscle tissue and things like that.
Yeah, and the fact that he's still in the hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
So our thoughts go out to Charlie McAvoy because, my goodness, man, the energy he brought to the ice against Canada, we're going to miss that. But now, you're kind of hoping that the boys in blue coming up tomorrow have a CM on the back of their helmet, and they're playing for their country and they're playing for the guy.
Yeah.
McAvoy.
I still can't believe Canada is now talking
smack.
Wow. This is going to be so much fun.
We don't need to have a text thread.
Well, you guys don't like each other very much, I guess. Well, you guys just have a bunch of green bubbles up there in Canada? What's going on?
All just playing your own game, huh?
Yeah. All right, 148 coming up next. Another edition of Whole World News. Time to get the emergency preparedness gear together because the world may be coming to an end. We'll tell you why next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
So J.J. Redick talked about the NBA's low ratings the other day, but I guess part of them, he blamed the studio show.
I agree with J.J. that one of the problems is that the media who does the games doesn't like the games. I don't need to watch Shaq confront Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert about not being good basketball players when they're winning games.
I hated that too, I agree.
And Shaq does it for everybody. He still does it. Shaq is horrendous.
He is bad.
He is awful.
He's always been bad.
And look, this isn't just TNT. There's a lot of people who have taken an easy approach of complaining about the NBA NBA when I actually think it's quite a good product and the fans like the game. So talk to them about the things that are likable about the game. I don't understand this approach of hating on it. Watch Sunday morning, watch college football on Saturday mornings. The media likes the game. I don't understand why basketball media hates the game so badly.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Go! It's time to span the globe for the hard-hitting news you care about. Well, not really. But hey, at least we found it interesting. This is Whole World News on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
We've got the whole world in our hands.
You got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands. You got you and me, brother.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Every now and then, Lloyd sends out a tweet that I'm like, well done, Lloyd. Slow clap. Anytime you work in asteroids and animal crackers together, you're doing your job.
Okay,
Just like,
nobody got it.
Oh, I got it. I absolutely got it. It's right up there with NASCAR and sugar packets.
Exactly.
It's just there's something there. Did I lose you on that one too?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
The animal crackers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it didn't have the impact on you that apparently it had on me and Lloyd.
You did get the animal crackers reference?
I 1,000% got that reference, by the way, Lloyd.
Thank you.
And by the way, thank you for getting the sugar packet reference too. And NASCAR.
I was telling Jessica this morning, I was like, I am so upset right now. I didn't get a single Hans got it, but he responded, but he didn't actually get it.
I sorry. When you send out a good tweet, I needed to respond to that. I should have. Because I was laughing, and then I started singing Aerosmith songs the rest of the day. Well done. It's from Armageddon.
Okay. I forgot.
Well, I'm disappointed with pretty much every one of my followers, so whatever.
Anyway, the reason we bring it up is that Lloyd sent out a tweet, he retweeted, that NASA now says there is a 3.1% chance that an asteroid heading nearby Earth will make contact with Earth in 2032. That's up from a 2.6% chance. That's the highest risk assessment an asteroid has ever received, surpassing one at 2.7 back in 2004.
Was the sugar packets Days of Thunder?
Yes.
Okay.
Attaboy.
And animal crackers was very similar.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's does the tiger go up north? Yeah, I remember the whole thing. Yeah, I remember Lloyd. It's probably a good reason people didn't respond. It's an unsavory part of that movie.
It's pretty tastefully done. Like,
is it?
Yes.
Is it?
And the world is about to end, for hell's sakes.
Is it?
I just watched that movie. I'm sorry. I should have gotten it. But for some reason, it was such an obscure. That's pretty darn obscure.
So when you think 3.1%, you're like, okay, well, that's a 96.9% chance it doesn't hit. But then you see they go 1 in 32. 1 in 32 sounds a lot worse than a 3% chance.
Well, the good thing is this asteroid is not expected to hit on our side of the globe.
Oh, really?
No. It's like Bangladesh or something. And the other good news is
now for Bangladesh.
Well,
but the problem is if an asteroid of any sizable that causes damage hits, I want it to land right on my head. Like, I want to be taken out. I don't want to live in the aftermath.
Well, okay, but this asteroid in particular, if it does impact Bangladesh, it'll have the impact nature of 500 atomic bombs. So it's 500 times what we dropped on Hiroshima. That's how big this is.
Yeah, that's a problem.
It's a problem, but when as science kind of draws it up, it will destroy Bangladesh and multiple surrounding cities, but we will not feel the impact.
Really?
On this
and it won't be like we won't be in like nuclear winter.
No, we'll survive it.
Okay, all right.
We'll survive it. This isn't.
Will it affect like football season?
No, I think we'll play right through it.
Okay, well, then that's all.
Will they throw us out of rotation with football season?
Yeah, like I don't want to delay 60 and 60 like we had to do in 2020.
I don't know if the Seahawks are going to be opening up in Brazil in that given year. We might want to bring everything home.
Yeah.
But I guess we're supposed to survive it.
Okay. All right, well, but don't make any vacation plans for Bangladesh in 2032.
Or that area.
Yeah. So I know the RGS sales trips go all over the world, but you got to tell Tim, no Bangladesh in 2032 for RGS.
We'll make sure we keep it away from there.
Yeah. 110. It's RGS Exteriors right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.